there. Are you tired of waiting for your Cucumber test suites to run? Does it seem like they take forever? If so, you're in the right place. I'm going to show you a super trick, what you can use with the latest version of Cucumber and Serenity BDD to run your tests 3, 4, 5 times as fast as they normally do. That's right, we're going to show you how to integrate parallel execution into your Serenity BDD Cucumber tests. We're going to be using a simple e-commerce demo application, the one that you can see right here. It's got some categories of products that you can navigate through. You can also search by different keywords. If I search for tops, then I'll get some tops. Then I might narrow that down or search for some related tops. On the home page, if I scroll down a little bit, I can see some highlighted products. I might want to view the details of a product, then add it to a shopping cart, and then we can see in the cart that all the details are there. So that is basically the kind of scenarios that we are going to be running through in our tests. Now let's have a look at the Cucumber Serenity BDD scenarios that we've got lined up to exercise this application. And this is the Maven project we'll be using. You can see it's actually just the Cucumber starter project from the Serenity BDD site that I've added some scenarios to. So really it is a very simple setup. All I've done here is basically added the test code. So if we have a look at the scenarios that we have here, we've got some scenarios that are focused around the shopping cart, around navigating, displaying the different product catalog. So I can see the top level categories, the subcategories, the subcategories. I can search for keywords, and I can view related items, and we can, what else can we do? We can add stuff to the cart fairly obviously. So we add an item to the cart, we check that it's got the cart is correct, we add multiple items and so forth. Now, from the point of view of testing, from the point of view of running these tests in parallel, we have 14 scenarios in all. Now, some of them are example tables. So here we have just a list, but here we have 4 scenarios all bundled up into this scenario outline. We have another 4 here, and then we have another. No, that's not an example table. So we've got 3 scenarios here, which are just basic scenarios. We've got 2 scenario outlines, totaling for 8 more scenarios and 9 scenarios. And then we have 2 more here. So we've got a total of 14 scenarios. And what I'm going to do now, I've not configured this for parallel execution at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to run it and see what happens. So what you'll notice here, we have the Cucumber test suite, which is just a conventional Cucumber test suite here with the run with Cucumber with Serenity. Let's run that and see what happens. Now I'll speed this up a little bit because I don't want you to hang around for 3-4 minutes watching it run. But let's just run this and you'll see the time that it ends up taking. So there we have it, folks. That took 3 minutes and 46 seconds to run those 14 tests. Now, I ran them in the full browser mode so you can see what it does. We can gain a little bit of time with headless mode, but not really that much. It cuts it down to about 3 minutes, 30 seconds. So this is quite a lot of time for just 14 tests. Let's see what we can do to speed that up a little bit. There are 3 simple steps we need to follow to enable parallel execution with Cucumber and Serenity BDD. The first is to go ahead and open our POM file and to add some dependencies. So in our POM file, we have already from the starter project, we have some of these JUnit dependencies which we are going to replace. I'm going to get rid of them entirely because I'm not using them. You may need to keep the vintage ones, but I'm going to get rid of all of them. Let's just add a comment to make this clear. Serenity parallel execution. And what I'm going to do is add, first of all, the Cucumber JUnit platform library. So that is called Cucumber JUnit. IntelliJ will help me along. Platform engine, that is the one. I'm going to want the absolute latest version, which is 7.11.11. That's all good. And then we're going to need the JUnit platform, the JUnit platform suite. So we add JUnit platform suite, just the suite that will add everything we need. And then that comes from, all JUnit platform, and we're going to go with the version 1.9.2. So that is the only dependencies we need. Let's update our dependency, our POM file, and that way we will, we've got our indexes updated. We are good to go. Now, the second of the things that we need to do is to create a file called JUnit Platform Properties, which will live under source test resources. Now, this is a really important file for JUnit 5. So let's go ahead and create that, JUnit Platform Properties. And now that file will contain the configuration elements we need to configure our parallel execution. Now, I'll just bring up on the page the samples, the documentation, because this is documented, fairly obviously. The documentation, you'll find it on the Serenity homepage, so Serenity BDD GitHub IO. If you go to the Running Cucumber with Serenity, and then scroll down to the bottom, there is a paragraph which describes how to do that. So the things we need to remember, I'm going to copy over all of these properties. The things we need to remember and that are really, really important. This will save you quite a bit of time if you have not done it before. Don't forget you need both the fixed parallelism. There are a few different ways of configuring it, but the simplest is you say fixed and then parallelism 4 and then max pool size 4. For some reason, if you don't put max pool size, it kind of goes crazy and it won't respect that you only want 4 threads, for example. And that might not be a problem in some situations, but with web testing, or if you're running against a remote server, or if you want to throttle your test to some degree so you don't overload the server or overload the service like Browser Stack or Source Labs or Lambda Test and so forth, you want to be able to run your tests in parallel and control the number of threads. And to do that, you need both max pool size and parallelism set to typically the same number. That's the way I do it. It works quite well. So then the third and last step is in our Cucumber test suite. Rather than running this as a run with Serenity, we can ditch all of this. We don't need any of that anymore. We go back to the documentation and we see what it says here. You'll see we use the suite annotation. And the way this works is, I'm going to copy this over. We say include engine. Now, include engine, that little bit of magic, I could have just copied the imports, couldn't I? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Here we go. That little bit of magic here, this Cucumber, relates back to the JUnit platform properties, where it will trigger all of this, and in particular, the Cucumber plugin. This one, Cucumber Core plugin, Serenity Reporter Parallel. We need that to be able to run our tests in parallel. So with those three things configured, let's now have a go at running the tests and see what happens. And you'll see here, it's kicking off multiple instances at the same time. So we're running a couple down here, but not all of them. It's only limiting it to 4 because we told it to limit the only run 4 browsers at the same time. And you can see it's kicking them off here. They're running. I've I've switched back to headless mode so that we could not be distracted by the browsers popping up, but that doesn't make a huge difference. And you can see how fast it's churning through these things. I'm not slowing it down at all here because obviously I'm talking as it's doing these tests. And you can see the execution as it goes, it's updating. We've got through all those examples. We've got through most of these. We've got a couple more to go. So I've got an example table here that's working through. So an interesting point, it's running the example tables in parallel as well. So every scenario is executed independently. So rather than 3 minutes 48 seconds, we're now down to 1 minute 24 seconds. So roughly 3 times the speed, which is what we got from four threads in parallel. So you can increase that. You want to try it out. Mileage may vary depending on your machine, but you do want to try that out with different values. So now you've seen the proof. We got our test running 3-4 times faster with a very simple change. But here's the thing. These speed improvements are only part of the picture. This opens the gateway to even more powerful tools, even bigger gains of execution time. For example, once you get this parallel execution running with your scenarios and your examples running in parallel, you can run them on a Selenium grid setup. You can use services like BrowserStack and Lambda Test to run your tests on the cloud more rapidly. You can get huge scalability just with this very simple change. In future videos, we'll be exploring these topics in a lot more detail, showing you how to set up and how to use tools like BrowserStack and Lambda Test with Serenity BDD and Cucumber. So do stay tuned for that. And make sure if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when these videos come out and get released. So, well, there you have it, a really simple, effective way of speeding up your Serenity BDD Cucumber test using the latest Cucumber 7 features. Give it a try and leave your comments below. Let us know how you went. Thanks for watching, folks, and I will see you all in the next video.